Hey everyone, we will get started in a couple of minutes here. I have shared the link to a Google Drive that contains this presentation. It also contains some resume templates and a couple other things. The slides themselves are also available just in the Docs tab here. If you just want to get the slides themselves, the slides will also have a bunch of links in it, especially at the end. We're not getting started yet. We will wait 3 minutes. I'm just letting people know they can get the slides. There's a Google Drive link. And if you want me to look at your resume, I suggest you take PII off of it because this is the internet. And whatever you share with me is going to be on the internet. If you don't take your PII off, that's on you. If you send it and it's got like your street address, that's a you issue. I'm asking people to just email me an editable version if you're going to want me to look at your resume, and I will get through as many as I can. Fair warning, I am exhausted. I'm still not on East Coast time. I'm still on Kuwaiti time. So I will get through as many as I can get through. Yes, Chris, I'm old and this was made in the 90s. I just reused the same template I used last year. Yeah, BDUs. That's how you know that you need like Advil in the morning. We probably have all kinds of medical problems. The one thing that was pretty crazy is one day I came home from work while I was in Kuwait, and there's like 300 U.S. Army soldiers in my hotel. I'm staying in the Crown Plaza, a five-star hotel, one of the nicest hotels I've ever stayed in, and there's all these Army people. It took me like three elevator trips to squeeze into an elevator with them. And I was like trying to talk to them. They really didn't want to tell me where they were from or whatever, which is fair. It's fair. I understand. But like, what are you doing here? Why are you at the Crown Plaza? I never stayed in a hotel that nice when I was in the military. And then they were gone the next day. I'm very confused by the whole thing. It was crazy. All right, so we got like about one more minute, and then we're going to dive in here and get started. I will go through the slides quite quickly because as much time as I can give you before my headache and my exhaustion take over, I will answer questions and or review resumes or whatever else you need. I have DCUs and BDUs down in the basement. I was in Kuwait with one of my coworkers from my actual company, and I found out during our training that this man was 24 years old, and I just about died because that's how old my daughter is. If I read the words verbatim on the slide, I'm going to try not to do that, but I am emphasizing the points on the slide. All right, there's 41 of you currently watching, even though there's 61 people logged into the site. I don't know what those other 21 people are doing. They're just here, but they're not watching the stream. Maybe we need to help them. I'm unclear. All right. We're gonna get started. This is the resume workshop. I think this is like the fourth year in a row I've been doing this. I'm on LinkedIn. I have shared the folder. The folder has the slides and some additional information. If you just want the slides, I also uploaded them to the Docs tab. We're getting started. At least I'm going to try to get started. Okay. I did introduce myself somewhat earlier. I don't know if everybody was around. I'm a now a senior technical instructor. I changed jobs since I made this slide. Still at the same company. My deepest area of expertise is cyber threat intel. I did 10 years in Army technical intelligence, signals intelligence. I have done 15 years in cyber since I got out. I have been a DoD contractor. I have been a Fed at the DoD Cyber Crime Center, and now I'm at a FANG company, and I've been at this company for 2 years. I've done one SANS course. I've actually done two SANS courses. I Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. I have a few certifications still that I have. I do a lot of volunteering at Career Resume Villages. I'm now your VetSec vice president, vice chairman. I've done a lot of speaking engagements. I'm a Hiring Our Heroes and SkillBridge volunteer at Google. I'm a DEF CON Sockagoon, and my daughter was a DEF CON Sockagoon this year as well. We did not actually try to coordinate every single time we were in the same place, but apparently we are related and just wore the same colors anyway. And it was pretty funny. Okay. So this is the plan. A little bit about your job search, a little bit about the resume, a little bit about interview prep, because interview prep is really important. And then I will give you as much time as I can. I will try to give you about 2 hours of questions and answers and resume. Your job search. So I started this last year because I think we get a lot of people that are at this intersection of job search, my resume, my interview, and end up at I can't get a job. Now, currently, the job market it's pretty terrible. So we have a lot of people that are very qualified that can't get a job, but you still want to try and put your best foot forward. And there are some things that a lot of people that are in the VetSec that we see in the resume channel and so forth could probably think about and improve on. Um, so you need to be specific and deliberate in most cases, because there aren't really cybersecurity jobs, right? There's not a cybersecurity job. There's not a medical job. There's not a law job, right? Those are career fields, and we have specific disciplines within all of these fields. And I think for a lot of people getting out of the military, especially, there are new people who are getting out, whether you separated or retired, right? There are probably like 80 to 120 different things you can do in the cybersecurity job world. And that's not including anything that's in like probably IT or that murky area of maybe it's IT or cyber. So it helps to be more deliberate and do some background onto the different types of jobs within cybersecurity where you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, the KSAs, to do those jobs. So um, it used to be like back in the 2010, like if you had a clearance, even a secret clearance in a Security Plus, you're probably going to get a job. That is definitely not the situation in today's job environment. Clearances help, Security Plus, those sorts of certifications can help, but a lot of it is going to be networking and being much more deliberate on your resume and your interview approach. So we already have a question. I have not been laid off and looking for work, Riker. So I have not been in that position since I got out. I have been quite lucky. There are two resources here to look at specific kinds of jobs. So I actually, if you were here earlier today, I brought up the Paul Jeremy. That's actually a certification roadmap that's vendor agnostic. But I think that also helps think about the different types of jobs and different types of training. And then the NICCS from CISA is a whole workforce development. That's the NICE framework. So if you're really new into this field, these are excellent resources to get started, to understand the breadth and depth of different types of cybersecurity jobs that you may be qualified for that you don't even know are jobs. For instance, like I just moved into a full time technical instructor role with Mannion Academy. I started out in 2010 when I moved from SIGINT into cybersecurity as a technical instructor. That was the first real cybersecurity job I had, and I'm moving back into that role. Sales engineer, right? We're actually going to have a talk later this week about sales engineering. Maybe it's not your dream job. I don't know if there are dream jobs, but it may be a job that you're qualified to do that will put food on the table. So I think we're in an environment right now where it may not be helpful to just chase dream jobs. I know it's really, really tough out there. So it may be I need to get a job in order to, uh, pay the bills. Um, Being deliberate and specific are going to help, and we're going to continue on that theme. Even if you're open to a wide variety of jobs, and even if you're qualified for a wide variety of jobs, I think you still want to be specific on your resume and your interview techniques and the tailoring of that when you are looking for jobs, even if you're looking for 10 or 12 different kinds of jobs you might be qualified to do. Right. So, the other thing I think that's really important here is that there are areas in cybersecurity, and this can start a whole debate that really aren't entry level, even if they are an entry level role in that field. So, for instance, an entry level red teamer or an entry level pen tester often is not an entry level role into cybersecurity. There's always going to be an exception. But I'm telling you right now that most of the time, they are not looking for someone with 1 to 2 years of experience for an entry level pen tester or red teaming role. That is quite rare. I have seen a lot of success of people doing other things in IT or cybersecurity and then pivoting earlier or mid career into those roles because those roles require so much knowledge and information that a lot of the hiring managers and people on those teams don't want a very junior person. Now, there's always going to be an exception. There's going to be an exception because they want to hire the absolute cheapest person into that job slot that they can get, and in that case, yeah, it is an actual junior position because they're paying the junior rate. But I'm telling you, we have a lot of people that come into VetSec, into our mentoring channel, and the number one thing they say is, I'm interested in red teaming. And like the mentors, we like review the requests that come in, and we're always helpful when someone does not put red teaming down as like their first job they're trying to get in cybersecurity, because it's a really tough way to try to go about it. There's plenty of other jobs in cybersecurity too, and you're not necessarily going to be pigeonholed into these if you make the effort to gain additional practical skills, um, to pivot into other roles. Like there's people who love policy and love the GRC space, and man, I wish we had more technical people in those spaces sometimes. And that doesn't mean you need to be in those spaces forever, but we've got people in VetSec who love being in GRC, and I know people who love being in policy and trying to make it right. So there's more than one way to be successful in this field. Like we're not all going to be like Mr. Robot. And I think a lot of people have that perception that that is what cybersecurity is. And if that's the only thing you think cybersecurity is, then I think this is going to be a tough hill for you to climb. So there's lots and lots of different roles, and you may be qualified for lots of different things. And especially in this job market right now, you may need to just take a job and then see how things are in like 2 or 3 years. I also think, in addition to all of that, their industry verticals are quite different. So if you're staying in sort of the federal contracting or DoD or state military esque governmental realm, I think that is a very different industry vertical than startups, than oil and gas commercial sector, than the financial sector, right? All of these verticals are all so different, and you're going to want to consider the differences in the industry vertical in addition to the job role as well. So, for instance, like in the you probably see a lot of ads for like ISSO, ISSM, military, government, or DoD contracting roles, and there are still two flavors of ISSO roles. I've worked with ISSOs that probably don't even know what the command line is, then someone else gives them all of their paperwork. And that's one way that some people are trying to execute the ISSO role. I've also worked with ISSOs who are actually the most technical person around them and are doing most of the technical things and checks and vulnerability scans and all of that stuff on their own. So there's even two versions of that, even within the DoD contracting sector. But like the roles around compliance and regulation in the commercial sector will look different than the way it appears and the job functions and duties of a very similar role within a government or federal space. Like there are going to be differences. And I have not worked with a ton of GRC people in the commercial space, but I also know that that will be different whether you mean like small company or whether you mean gigantic company. And so there's a difference there as well. There's a difference between someone who's only experienced pen testing is on small companies of like, 500 endpoints versus being involved in penetration testing where the clients have 5,000 or 10,000 or 25,000 endpoints within scope. So these are some other things to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind, especially right now, is can you take an on site hybrid shift work on call role? These are the toughest roles to fill. So now is the time to make the sacrifice and just say, man, I like the idea of being remote, or maybe you like the idea of being hybrid, but I want to keep my clearance, maybe my secret clearance. So, like, you want to go into the office to maintain that because the job market is not very good right now. These are current things that will change with time based on how things are changing. The other thing I'll add in here is that this field changes constantly, and there are a ton of AI security related roles that are open, policy roles related to AI that are new, that are advertised. So go take some AI training, go take some AI courses, and get it on the ground floor if you think that that's an area you want to be in on. Right? There's more than one way to get started in this world, and I think you have to be especially open minded right now, given the job market. You can also ask for referrals in VetSec. We have a place to go and see if people are like, I will refer you. Or you could just go into general and network with people or any of the other channels. Say, hey, I'm trying to get a job at this company. Do we have anybody that works at company 123? Right. This networking is really critical. Referrals don't even guarantee that you're going to get to an interview, but it will help. And you want every advantage you can get, especially if you are struggling or not having a lot of success. And I understand, like, maybe people feel weird about asking for a referral, but like you've got to get over that hurdle and make these connections and ask. Say, would you be comfortable putting me in for a referral? Do you have a referral system? Is there any way I can get referred for this specific job? How do referrals work for your company? Like, figure out some way to broach this question and ask the question. I refer people at Google. I mostly refer people that I know or I've worked with in some capacity, or maybe I've mentored them. I'm not a big proponent of, just giving a referral for someone I don't know. But I mean, I know a lot of people and I've given a lot of referrals at various places that I've worked. So being proactive is important and asking for a referral is important. Okay, that's the job search. That's as much as I'm going to cover on that right now. When we talk about resumes, you are going to get conflicting information. You're going to get conflicting information in the VetSec resume review channel. I'm probably going to give conflicting information than what Mark gave this morning. Everybody who has been a hiring manager who has had multiple jobs in cyber or have an opinion about resumes. I know what I want to see as a hiring manager. I know what's been successful for my own personal resume to get jobs. So I also am involved in career villages and I hear what other hiring managers and recruiters are telling people about resumes. I am active in this space. I am not a recruiter, but I have been a hiring manager and I've had a lot of jobs because I tend to change jobs every 2.5 to 3.5 years since I got out. So, ultimately, the resume is up to you and it is your decision. Everything else people tell you is their opinion, and you've got to make the final call. I think that's important because you still have to own your resume or resumes. I'm also going to say that I don't think AI can rewrite your entire resume. I think we can use AI to help us write portions of the resume with targeted and very specific prompts for the different AI tools that are out there. The the Chat GPT one version ago was the better one than the Chat GPT version right now when it comes to resumes. So you can use this to try to tailor the resume. A lot of people are really bad about writing about themselves, which we totally get. Those of us that are here to help understand this. This is difficult for many people to write basically flattering things about themselves about how successful they are. So we may be able to use AI to help us with that. But if you like think AI is going to give you like a whole 2 or 3 page resume and it's not going to need any like editing and tailoring, we that's it's not I have not seen that to be the case, and I start to see a lot more of like resume AI tailoring websites out there. And one, I wouldn't spend any money on that because I think you can do the same thing with the free tools that are available. And I think it is a combination of perhaps working with someone at a free clinic like here or in VetSec or at one of the local B-sides where they have recruiters that you can talk to, and maybe getting some other ideas of how to reword stuff through ChatGPT. When I say specific prompts, my number one go-to prompt to rewrite most bullets is rewrite and strengthen these bullets. I paste them in to ChatGPT using the style of Deloitte or Accenture proposal language. That is the specific prompt that is my go-to. If I am working with someone from VetSec who is new out of the military or transitioning, I will also often tell AI to rewrite this to take out military jargon and insert civilian terminology for this job field. So those are my two go-to prompts to generally help people in this community to get the resume to the standard that I expect it to be at if I was a hiring manager getting the resume. The other thing about resumes is there are no real rules. I am telling you things that I have seen be successful for myself, personally, for myself as a hiring manager trying to build a team, and for other people that I have helped who have gotten hired. So that is where my advice comes from. 2 to 3 pages is the limit for resumes. I do not care if you have 40 years of experience because no one cares what you did in 1973. It doesn't matter. Recruiters care what you've done in the last 7 years. And that is pretty much it. When I was a government employee, I was a hiring manager as a GS 14. And if you sent me a 14-page resume to a threat intel job, you weren't qualified to do the job because we need people who can write concisely. And I don't care what you did in 1993. It's not relevant. And people need to understand that the resume is not a biography. The resume is the highlights in chronological, like reverse chronological order of especially focused on the last 7 to 10 years. And if it's not in that 7 to 10 year time frame, it's going to get truncated at the end of the resume because it's not relevant. If you are really new into this field, including career changers, you probably should go with a 1-page resume because I also don't want to see a lot of stuff that's unrelated to cybersecurity or IT on there. I see resumes all the time where people are still listing, I was a policeman, I was an EMT, I was a barista, I worked at Kmart. None of that is relevant. If it's relevant, unrelated work, we can work with that to some degree. If it is unrelated to the IT or cybersecurity world, that is not doing you any good to include that on your resume. Yes, as a hiring manager, and someone said this earlier, I think Tyler said this earlier, I spend 10 seconds on first pass when I get a resume. 10 seconds, which also means if it's important, it better be on page one. And I only look at the resume later when I am getting ready to interview that candidate and during the interview. 10 seconds. If my recruiter gives me a bunch of resumes, right, and I like have a stack of 23 or 35 resumes, right, I'm probably going to pick out the couple that are qualified because there's always ones that aren't qualified because the recruiters don't understand what we're looking for. God bless them, but they just don't have the technical acumen of the people doing the job. So I get unqualified resumes and then I go through them really quickly, hopefully electronically, so I can see whether they even have any of the keywords I'm looking for, which a lot of them don't even have because they're not even tailored. And then I'll pick the couple that I think are going to be qualified, and then those are the people we interview. Some other big things is don't have a cover letter unless it's needed. Don't put pictures of you in military uniform anywhere on the resume, on the cover letter, on LinkedIn. I see people who've been out of the military for 5 years whose LinkedIn picture is still them in their uniform. I guess if you got the fancy Marine dress uniform, fair play. But outside of that, you're not helping yourself. You're not helping yourself integrate into the civilian workforce. Business or business casual, just get a picture. Just get a picture. Put a polo on or a blouse and just get a picture that's not in uniform. I'm telling you, this matters. And don't have like a weird background image. Don't have the stock background image either. Just get a background image on LinkedIn. The resume needs to focus on the impact you've had as much as possible. Cover letters, nobody reads them. Even if they're required, nobody reads them. And everybody's using AI to write them now, so now they're all the same. If the cover letter is required and you're using AI to write it, then you're probably doing yourself a disservice because it comes across as very fake. So put some effort into it a little bit if the cover letter is required, but don't spend 2 hours on a cover letter because even if they're required, I don't think it's having a lot of standing unless it seems like it's obviously written by ChatGPT or something. The cover letter is not needed, but optional. If it's optional, don't send it because nobody cares. If it's optional, spend your time on the resume and interview prep. You need to tailor your resume. Depending on your situation, this can mean two different things. If you have a job and are occasionally looking for a better job or something else, then you should tailor your resume for that specific job. If you are laid off or getting out of the military and need a job, like right now, to pay the bills, then tailoring your resume means you should have multiple versions of the resume that are aligned to the different types of jobs you're applying for. So this can have two different meanings. So I have tailored my resume very specifically recently for the internal job transfer. It was tailored for a cyber instructor position, right? Very specific. If I was in a position where I was open to lots of different jobs, I would probably have lots of different versions of a resume in my hip pocket that I would use for different types of jobs maybe I was applying to. So hopefully this comes across and this makes sense to everybody, right? We're trying to be applicable to as many people as possible here. This is the trick. I get this from my friend Kirsten Renner. She is actually speaking tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. She's the best technical recruiter I've ever worked with. There's a handful of ones that I really like, but she's the best. On the top of your resume, preferably in the first line, I am a blank seeking a blank. I am a seasoned cybersecurity professional with 25 years of experience looking for a job as a blank. And that second blank is the job you're applying for. Because let me tell you, when I'm the hiring manager, I'm looking for threat intel analysts, and somebody's resume is tailored for threat intel, and they tell me at the top that I am getting out of the Navy after 4 years and I have Sec Plus and I'm interested in cybersecurity and I'm looking for a job as a cyber threat intel analyst, that holds a lot more weight to me than someone who clearly probably wants to be a red teamer based on the way their resume is configured. Because in these junior jobs as well, people are going to move. People are going to leave as soon as they get a better offer, especially if it's not a role they love. So I want the person to understand that I am interested in this position. Is this authentic? It's as authentic as you think it is. Now, I don't mean you should apply for roles that you absolutely hate and are going to leave in 6 weeks as soon as you get another role. I'm not trying to say that either. But you are presenting the most positive version of yourself in your resume when you make these applications in order to stand out. There are lots of things in cybersecurity I could be perfectly content doing. And I would make a resume making sure that that person knows I'm really interested in this type of position. This is the position you're hiring for. Right? It's like when you go to sell your truck or your car, I don't talk about the 2 times I got a fender bender. I talk about all the good stuff. Okay? We're trying to highlight the good things and put you in a positive light to get the call back from the recruiter. That's all the resume can do is get you that first phone call from the recruiter. And that's when the interview process starts, by the way. So hopefully everybody is taking notes on this. You have the slides available. I am a blank seeking a blank. I am a, describe yourself very shortly, looking for this exact role that this resume is going in for. You cannot include everything on your resume. We get this all the time. This is generally more problematic for my older veterans or my more experienced personnel who think that they want to put everything on the resume because it tells them how amazing they are. This was a huge problem with candidates from the NSA who still think government resumes should be 23 pages long. A government resume should still be 2 to 4 pages long max. Like there is no requirement that your government resume needs to be 15 pages long. And I was a government hiring manager. So I saw lots of terrible, huge 23-page resumes. That's not really what we're trying to do here in cybersecurity. Now, if you are concerned about that and you've gotten some advice that, oh, this agency, they get a lot of 5-page resumes and that's standard, fine. Then take that advice. But then make it a 5-page, don't make it a 15-page resume. Right, Tom, when I was at E3 24 years ago, I got a certificate of achievement, right? No one cares. It's not relevant. 7 years. What have you done in the last 7 years that's been impactful? And that's what we want to focus on. And you do not want to exclude yourself from consideration. This is the other most important thing is do not put controversial things on there. If you're not sure it's controversial, ask us in VetSec and we will tell you. I go back to this one example time and time again because we had a person in VetSec who insisted on including sniper training on their resume for their commercial version of the resume. And if you put sniper training on a commercial resume, the first person that reads that will ask, how many people did you kill? That is not the ideal thing you want the hiring manager to think about. So I don't think you should put anything religious or political on your resume unless it's relevant. If you're applying to be the CISO of the Lutheran Church, then yeah, I would include everything you do in the Lutheran Church on the resume because then it's relevant. If you're applying to be like a cybersecurity person for special forces, then yeah, put the sniper training on your resume because some guy's going to be like, oh, hell yeah, he's even sniper qualified and he has Sec Plus. Let's go hire this guy. It's relative. It's relative. If you put sniper training on there and you're like, I really want these, Nebraska healthcare cyber positions, it's probably not really the best idea to include then, is it? So, yes, Kevin, you have to know your audience, but you have to think through all of this. And this is why tailoring the resume is so important. Like, if you volunteer with Special Olympics or like volunteer with some kids' sports and a volunteer referee or volunteer at cybersecurity events, then put that on the resume because it's not really controversial. But if you like work in a soup kitchen, there's somebody that's going to read that is going to make a predetermined, biased assumption. I don't, if it's not related to cybersecurity, my first instinct is do not include it because you don't want to exclude yourself. You don't know who's looking at the resume. All right, we've covered this. Oh, I have seen AOL and Yahoo. If you have an AOL or you have a Yahoo email and you're applying for a cybersecurity job, you are probably being automatically disqualified. I'm telling you right now. One of my tips to people is like, I tell people to just go get a Proton email. Maybe it will help because that at least tells me that you know that Proton email is a thing, which I think probably puts you above some other people who have applied with their Yahoo email. LinkedIn. It should be like, have your mom read it. Have someone that's not in the military, that's not in cyber, read it. Does it look nice? Do you have a nice picture? There's a lot of pictures of veterans who have this image for their profile picture. Does that look like a friendly person we want to hire into this team role? No. Guys, women, whoever's here, everybody, aliens, you want to look friendly in your LinkedIn picture. I know this sounds dumb. I see your LinkedIn pictures. Why are you so angry in your LinkedIn picture? Get a new picture, buy yourself an ice cream, smile, have a normal background photo of anything. So a normal background photo. Your tagline in LinkedIn cannot be 67 things. Don't do that either. So what else? You are starting a brand. When you get out of the military at some point, you essentially have a personal brand. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. This is a whole nother conversation. But if you're not aware that you have a personal brand, hey, you got a personal brand. And your personal brand is all of your public social media and internet presence that people can find out about you. It's everything you say in Discords, it's everything you say in Slacks, it's everything you say at your local B-Sides meetups and ISC Squared meetings. It's like you become a known quantity in groups in cybersecurity pretty quickly. And you are making a personal brand. I made a personal brand decision to keep the mohawk. I shaved it off once and grew it back. That is a very specific career defining decision I made because there are some people who freaking hate it. And I'm well aware of that based on things they have said to my face. So you want to think through your personal brand and how you present yourself on LinkedIn and professional and any other social media presence that you have and how you act at conferences and what you wear. This is personal branding. Okay. Getting a job offer. Your resume gets you the initial callback, and that initial callback starts your interview. There are stories of people being like mean to the person that calls them about the job. Like, that is your lifeline to get the job. Like, I don't understand how you would be mean. Also, if this is an is it if this is like something where they've like arranged a time to call you, even if it's the first, like, let's just have a conversation and see if like salary expectations match, or like if you'd be open to hybrid or what, it's that first call. Don't miss the call either, because that like is like, this is your first impression. I have interviewed something like 67 people in my last job at Booz Allen Hamilton. Or no, I interviewed 112 people and we hired like 37. I think, yeah. I normally know within 5 seconds of the interview if this person has ever had an interview or practice before. I've had one person start in a flaming dumpster fire and pull it around and get an offer. One out of like 112 interviews. So everybody seems to focus on the resume so much that they do not practice their interview skills, which should be tailored for the job, and you can be ready for the type of questions you're going to get for that type of a job. Because the questions you're going to get for a cloud security engineering job are probably going to be a little bit different for a technical program management role where you're doing a lot of proposal work. You're going to get different questions. And this is actually somewhere that AI can help you to suggest types of questions you should prepare for. So if you're not prepared and you haven't practiced your speech about, hey, thanks for coming in, tell us who you are today. If you're not preparing all of that, stop working on your resume quite as much and spend some more time doing interview prep. All right. Are you ready for the interview? No, you're not. I already know the answer to that question. Your story should be 2 to 3 minutes, right? So when you get that first phone call, not even the interview, the first phone call. Hey, Jerry, we see you applied for this position, so I just wanted to give you a call about it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what interests you in this job? That's the first interview question you're answering. And if, yeah, it's your elevator pitch, it's your story, whatever, little 2 to 3 minutes. It cannot be 8 minutes long, because I timed someone once and I don't want an 8 minute long story. That's way too much. Like, I don't care what you did when you were 12. Trust me, it's not relevant. It can be tailored depending on the job role as well. If it's more technical or more threat intel, I will focus more about that in my little intro than if it's more managerial, right? I can work in one or two little tidbits. And also, like, right, like, hey, yeah, don't say anything about sniper training, Daniel. So one of my go-tos, because I try to bring some humor into this to see if it lands or not, is I got started in large part in IT and computers when I was like 10 to 12, because my dad was a Snap-on tool driver and I had to keep the Panasonic 286 Toughbook monochrome hooked up to the dot matrix printer. It was my job to keep all of that working and run the 150-foot RJ11 phone wire out to dad's truck so he could transmit the order, which would take hours. And eventually we finally got a second phone line. That was my sort of like introduction into IT and computers and everything. And then eventually I went into the Army, did technical intelligence. And when I got out, I went back into cybersecurity, sort of falling back on some of that stuff I did from that whole timeline, right? So it ties it together, but it's quick. It's got to be quick. Why are you here? Like, the answer can't be cybersecurity pays a lot of money. That might be the real legitimate answer, but you have to come up with something else to say. I love cybersecurity. I enjoy defending against an adversary. You've got to figure out what your answer to some of this is. Standard questions. These are questions you're going to see over and over again, or some variation of them. What is your biggest strength and weakness? You have to have a good answer to this. And your weakness should be something you're mitigating, right? I don't want to hear like, what's your biggest weakness? Oh, I always hate my boss. That's not the answer we're going to go with during interview prep class. Okay. So, like, yes, you have to have a weakness, but like, it's something minor that you're fixing. This is a bullshit question. Okay. So, we're going to come up with a bullshit answer for a bullshit question. But the whole, like, how do you handle stress? Maybe we don't want to talk about our deployment if it's a pure civilian world. That might be a perfect answer for like GDIT or some sort of other DoD contracting. But like, I want to think about that. Maybe it won't land with different audiences the same. So I want to think through my answers to these questions, right? How do I work under stress? I mean, I supported the war in Afghanistan for 7 years every single day. But like, maybe I want to work on that answer a little bit and make it more applicable to the type of role that I'm working for. Right. So these are very, very, very common ones. How do you stay updated on cybersecurity? Like, you better start telling me about like podcasts or something that you do, or like Discord, Slacks you're in. I literally had people say like CNN and Fox News before. We did not offer that candidate. We did not offer that candidate a position. Like, that is not how you stay up to date on cyber news. And if that is how you're staying up to date on cyber news, then please God, join VetTech and learn all of the ways that we actually stay up to date on cybersecurity stuff. Technical question prep again, AI can help you get through some of this, right? Like, if it's a SOC, like an entry level SOC job, they might ask a lot of like really routine questions, like a couple of port questions. And do you know, like, can you explain what DNS is? Like, could you even like at your own level explain it as much as you can in depth? That's a pretty common one. What's the difference between UDP and TCP? Can you define a 0-day vulnerability? What's the difference between a risk, and exploit, and a threat? There's a lot of super common technical questions depending on the type of job that you're going to get, and you can practice answering them. Now, when we talk about practicing answering all this, I don't want you to memorize the answer. I want you to practice it so that you're prepared for the questions when they come up in the interview. But yes, there are mock interviews in VetSec. Google actually has like a weird mock interview thing, and it's not cybersecurity exactly, but it's better than nothing. Um, but you should be able to, like, if you, well, how does a firewall work? How does TCP work? Describe a three-way handshake. Like, some of these are baseline questions depending on the type of role that you're asking, right? What do you consider the biggest threat in today's cybersecurity world? Says a lot about you depending on the type of role you're applying for. So you need to prep for these as much as you prep the resume. What gets you hired? Can you do the job? Does the hiring manager like you? That's pretty much it. Are you the most qualified candidate that we've got at the lowest salary that we're offering? And will you be a good fit on this team, and do I like you? That's generally who gets the offer. So they want to pay generally the least amount of money as they can to the candidate to that position. Can you do the job? They're going to ascertain this through however many rounds of interviews that they're doing, right? Which is a whole nother, like, you may have to prepare for technical interviews. And are you likable? Are you affable? Are you going to be a team player? Because almost all of these positions are team player in some way. And you want to think through that. Google now has a new thing when you apply for a job at Google where they make you fill out this like survey thing. I didn't do it. It's really new. But they're testing for Googliness. That's actually what they call it at Google. Like, you will be scored against your Googliness. This is just culture. Every company is doing this to some degree, whether they say it or not. It's a culture, it's a fit, right? And so, like, you want to be a team player. So, like, if you have a question, and you should practice a question of like, would you consider yourself a team player or more of an independent worker? The correct answer is always team player. So if you actually prefer to do a lot of work by yourself, you're going to have to figure out a way to answer this question. Where it's like, well, I really like to dive into some things pretty deeply. And a lot of times that requires me to concentrate heads down individually, but I'm happy to come back then to the team and talk about it or review projects with them. You have to figure out how you want to couch that question, because the answer is you need to be a team player. I'm just trying to see if there's any actual questions in here. Okay. Um, can you do the job? And basically, are the people interviewing you, do they like you? That's what really comes down to it. Are there any questions before we move on to either live resume reviews or other Q&A? I'm trying to see if anybody has anything in, because we have two chats and some people are still in event as well. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. I have two resumes in the queue that I can see. No pictures on your resume, Sam. No, no pictures. Um, we're actually, oh, but in my slides, sorry, I bet I have them hidden. Yeah, sorry. Um, that slide deck also has some links in it. So like there are like you can get the slides. The slides are in docs. The slides are available on this site as well. I'm going to share this one more time. If you want me to look at your resume, man, hold on. This does not want to copy. Hold on 1 second, please. I want you to take your PI off your resume and email me just so I can keep track of them in the order they came in. It is literally the easiest way for me. I prefer them in an editable format. So I have a few resumes in the queue right now. I have one from Brandon. I'm queuing that one up. Brandon, are you here? Brandon, do you want to come on stage and tell me like what is going on with where you're at and give me like the quick 2 minute background? Yeah, I'm trying to, Brandon, I'm trying to invite you to the stage, but it's not letting me do that. Okay. Brandon, if you just want to type in like quick couple of lines, like where you're at, it looks like you are already out of the military, but like a quick summary would be great. And I'll ask everybody, like if I pull up your resume, if you can just give me like the quick summary, that'd be good. Can everybody see this? All right. We'll go ahead and get started with this one. I will stay here as long as I can, but I'm telling you guys, I'm pretty tired. So we've got email, LinkedIn, GitHub. So you will hear different people tell you different things about address. Maybe you just deleted it. I am a big fan of including city, town. Because if you don't have that, the recruiter literally doesn't know where you live. People will tell you the opposite as well. I am telling you, when I got a resume from someone and they don't have their location, then I don't know if they live close enough to come into the office if it requires in office work. Yeah, Tom, I might take you up on that in a minute. So you're going to hear people was like, well, I'm willing to relocate. I'm a big fan of at the final line here saying, I am open to hybrid, on-site, remote, on-call, and or relocate to New York, Texas, Nevada, right? I am much more happy to have that line at the end of this paragraph than to not have your location at all. Because the recruiter literally doesn't know if you can go into the office if it requires an office work. So some other things we see all the time: results driven. People lead with this results driven. That's garbage. We don't want that. So we want to like take this. We're gonna use some Chat GPT real quick. And I know I'm only sharing one screen because I have like a bajillion windows up because I'm running this conference. Give me 1 second. All right. So from ChatGPT, I got this All right, so I said, just so you're following along here, I said, make this more civilian using Deloitte or Accenture proposal language. And then I didn't like it, and I said, get rid of filler words. And then we get cybersecurity professional with over 5 years of experience security maintaining command and control infrastructure supporting critical operations. I would say you could do it this way, looking for a role as a blank, right? Looking for a role as a blank. So, like, it could be two sentences. I am a blank, looking for a blank. We still have that. We're just doing it with two sentences. Expertise in vulnerability assessment, security configuration, system hardening, blah, blah, blah. That's good. I don't know if that's a real thing. FUF? I don't know what that is. Now, here's a couple of things that stick out to me. Those are not all things for hardening systems. Metasploit, are we using Metasploit to harden the system? Maybe we're testing it. I don't know. So it kind of sounds like maybe you're on like the OS hardening side of the house a little bit. But anytime like it's a blue teamer and they're putting stuff like Metasploit on there, I worry that they want to be a red teamer. That's the thing. That's how my brain works as a hiring manager. Trained and mentored 11 personnel. See, like that's pretty good. This is probably still a little too long. But do you see how much like tighter? Like I'm not sure I would like say security administration and network. Okay, I see what we're saying here. We could probably tighten this up a little bit, but like I like this because we got rid of discipline and detail oriented and all of this fluff that every single veteran in here has put on their first attempt at a civilian resume, me included. Results driven, works well under stress, detail oriented, discipline, hard charger. Get it out of your resume. Get it out. Shake it out. Get it out of the resume. It's out. None of that. It's gone. Boom. It's gone. Rework this with ChatGPT, rewrite it using Accenture and Deloitte proposal language. That's the prompt. I like the fact you have your certifications here. I think all of this needs to be on page one, or at least most of this. Page one is your most important page. How many seconds are we spending on this resume, chat? How many seconds are we spending on the resume before I say, hey, let's interview this person? 10 seconds. So in 10 seconds, I'm probably not getting to page two. So if your education is relevant, if it's IT, cybersecurity, whatever, put it on page one. If you have a job and you learn a lot about the history of the Netherlands, put it on page two because it's not relevant. But a lot of these cyber projects, like you have a channel? You have a channel, Brandon? Brandon, you need some more videos, but I love the fact you have a channel. I think all of that needs to be on page one. So that would be my advice. Move that to page one. And then we get down here to these individual bullets here. Okay, so you're going non-bullet, like non-sentences where you don't have a period. That's a bold approach. I've seen it done. I'm a big proponent of like that these are sentences and sentences have periods. If you don't agree with that, it's fine. Just make sure that you stick to that same style in the whole resume. Which, like, if you decide that this is the style you want because this is your resume, that's fine. But make sure you don't accidentally include a period anywhere. So they're fine. I give them like a B minus maybe. But what in the holy horses is this bullet even talking about, Brandon? Manage logistics for 412 high stakes training projects. I don't know what we're talking about there. I guess maybe we're still in the military. So like I don't know if we're shoehorning in like an NCOER or OER bullet here about like bringing MREs to the training site or what this is about. But this one leaves me baffled a little bit. So I don't know that it helps you. Like that's a bullet that's not really helping you because it doesn't really say anything because you ensured security protocol compliance. Yeah, The other thing I will say here is that some people work in a classified environment still, and it gets really hard to be more detailed. Maybe that's the case here. Um, Certainly, if you have a clearance and are working in a clearance place, please God send this through pre-pub. If you don't know what pre-pub is, please ask somebody how you send your resume through pre-pub so you don't go to jail about putting classified stuff on your resume. So like we have some other stuff down here, like the secured Windows and Linux system use supporting mission critical command and control operations, minimizing cyber risk tactical assets. Like that doesn't really tell me anything. Like it sounds great at a surface level, but I don't really know what you did. Like this first one here, like you did patching, you did system patching and hardening. Now here's the problem. Brandon, are you still here? Is this a resume that you're using for the commercial sector, or are you trying to stay in like government fed DoD contracting? Brandon's he left. He was like, I'm out of here. Brandon, if this is going to be one you use for the commercial world, okay, then this is not a B plus. Then we have got to rework these to be much more civilianized. Okay, so yes, civilian people in AppSec and security should understand system hardening, but like we would want to rework some of this. Let's try a little trick here. We're going to take this section. All right, we are going to ask ChatGPT this question. That's the question we're asking for this section we're working on. All right, we're going to compare. We're going to do a little comparison here. All right, so we performed over 300 hours of system patching and hardening to maintain compliance with security baselines and industry best practices. And also, ChatGPT is putting a period, and I would suggest you put a period. Right, so we got rid of like DoD, and my God, do we love the freaking term operational? Everything is operational, mission critical in the military everywhere. So you want to like be really cognizant of overusing some of this very military-esque jargon in your resume. For pre-pub. So pre-publishing. So before you publish something, if you have a cleared role and work in a cleared environment, you normally need to have that go through pre-publishing, pre-pub, in order to make sure that you did not include any classified information on the resume. So, like, can we see the difference here between that line and this line? It's minimal. It's minimal, but it will matter when we do this to the whole resume, because now the whole resume will start to sound like a civilian wrote it instead of sounding very military esque. And like some of this, like developed proactive maintenance strategies that reduce downtime and hardware failures by 98%. So we went from that language to implemented proactive maintenance strategies that reduce downtime and hardware by 98%. Proactive maintenance strategies. So we got that there as well. But we have this implemented instead of developed. A lot of people use the same term again for a lot of the bullets as well. So supervised, wrote, authored. So sometimes ChatGPT is good just to give us another little, verb or noun at the front there. So again, it might not be like a ton. Well, we went from mission critical, everything's mission critical and operational, to supporting critical infrastructure. Like maybe you don't like that. Maybe you ask ChatGPT to reword that a little bit. But basically, like we don't want to use mission critical and operational all the time because it gets overused. I will tell you, if you were trying to get a DoD job, this is not a bad resume. I would tweak this a little bit. But if this is the civilian resume, I would continue to get like Gemini or like whatever. I don't care what you use. like to civilianize this a little bit. If you're in VetSec, like you could submit this into the VetSec resume channel and say, hey, I'm having trouble civilianizing some of this terminology. I want this to be more applicable to the civilian world. Brandon, that's it. We're moving on. Can I please close this? All right. Who's up next? All right. I don't know if we're going to get to all these. Jared, you sent me 2 resumes. Jared Perry, which resume am I looking at? I got Jared Perry HH or Jared Perry resume. Jared, if you're here, like and subscribe to the channel. Jared Perry resume. Yeah, Brandon, happy to help. And again, like I know I'm going to go through some of these pretty quick, just so I can get to a couple of them, and then hopefully other people can see the same things that they might see on their resume. But we have a channel to go through this. Okay, let me get this set up to share real quick. All right, Jared, you got to give me like the 3 sentences. Tell me what the situation is. What's your situation? You're looking for a job because X, Y, or Z. Jared, I don't think you can be strategic as a person. That's a weird personality type to have. I'm definitely operational. This is a weird sentence. Tom, are you still here? Did you want to hop in here? All right, so I went to this. So, cybersecurity professional with over 5 years of experience securing and maintaining complex technology environments, supporting high availability operations, looking for a role as a blank. And this is like a lot. I would probably like get rid of that honestly and do like that. Skilled in vulnerability management, security system hardening. Wait, no, what? That's not the right. My copy and paste is definitely not working. Hold on 1 second. My copy and paste are definitely leaving a lot to be desired today. Hold up. Does anybody else have a lot of problems copying and pasting from ChatGPT? Like, we can't even get that right. Okay, cybersecurity professional with 13 years of experience leading complex operations, risk management, and strategic planning in high pressure environments. See, I don't like that. Looking for a role as a blank. Because everybody's going to say that high pressure stuff. But this, I am a blank seeking a blank, is much better than, like, first of all, like, unless it's applicable, don't mention you were in combat. This is my general advice is unless that's the question you're going to want to bring up, like how do you handle stressful situation, and you do want to talk about like I've been deployed, I was in a deployed environment, I would possibly not use the term combat operations. I might say I was deployed and not use the word combat. I know this sounds really nitpicky, but I'm telling you, have you guys ever talked to random civilians? Just say. Um, so like here you have like we need to figure out whether like you are really doing pen testing or red team operations because it sounds like that's what you're looking for. So maybe that we move this right. We put that here, and then like we get rid of that. But here's the problem. Here's the problem I see, Jared, right off the bat. To be very honest with you, is I led a bunch of stuff where people did the work. Is what this tells me. And I think we want to be, I think we may be in a situation where you did a lot of leadership. And if you weren't doing operation, like if you weren't hands on keyboard, if you weren't doing the pen testing, like we're going to have to figure out how we make sure to show that you're qualified to do that role. Because like if, if you weren't just leading them, then I would rework this first sentence. Perhaps I would rework that and say, like, I mean, I'm a cybersecurity professional with over 13 years of experience with complex operations, risk management, and technical leadership. But again, this is where it gets really nitpicky, and this is the level of nitpickiness I get generally when I work with someone one on one on their resume. Um, I am not a big fan of listing so many technical things. It's like these aren't skills. Some of these are skills. Pen testing might be a skill, but then you just list a lot of tools. So I know people love to have tool lists, and if you want a tool list, I would have a tool list separate from a skills list. I'm not a big fan of having both a skill list and a tool list. I don't think you need a skill list. I think that should come out in the resume. So I would have like tools maybe, um, because like this whole thing about leadership operations, blah 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 blah, and like that should come out in the bullets. I like the fact you have your certifications. I would not include any that are planned. This is your resume. If you really want to include some that are planned, I would put one, but this is very different than degrees. It's very common to put like degree in progress, expected graduation date 2028. But like, I'm not a big fan of having all of those listed. I generally would say don't list any certs that you're planning. I do like the fact that you have planned and the date. That's nice. Again, this is your resume. I would maybe put one, whichever one you think is maybe most important. Like maybe keep GPen and get rid of the other ones. Um, your education needs to be on page one. Your education is much more important than these three expected certs right now. Yeah, and just like Tom says, like, are you like super familiar with all of these? There's a lot of things here. Um, yeah, I might leave your projects on page two because you do have experience that seems possibly relevant here, but we'll see. Okay, Jared, are you an officer or you're senior enlisted? Okay, as this sounds like very high level strategic. Yeah, so senior enlisted. Okay, us senior enlisted people that did a lot of officer level work. I feel you. Um, the problem, Jared, is this is not cybersecurity. Okay, there's more than one way to skin this horse. We could decide to have one bullet with a few lines about your service time and put that at the bottom underneath your cyber projects. That would be the way I would go. I would include very little of this whatsoever. Like you've got a little bit about Intel in here. I would probably have chat. You know what we're going to do right now? We'll just do it right now, real quick, and then we'll move on. All right. I would possibly do something like just service dates, like total service dates, and then get rid of this. This is an option. You don't have to do it exactly this way, but this is an option. I love that it didn't even come close to formatting that correctly. What font are we using here? Arial. Great. Okay. I think you get the idea here. So Arial somewhere. Good Lord. Okay. Like I would get the strongest bullets for, and I would put all of this under this because you're essentially a job changer. You're essentially a job changer. And most of the time, I would tell people to really limit the unrelated job experience to the job they're trying to get into for cyber or IT because it's just distracting. And like by the time you like would fix the formatting and like go to 1.15 spacing, like you would have, we could get you to like 2 full pages even with the reduction of all of that other active military time. But this would, like, you're essentially the same type of person. I think I've worked with 3 mechanics who are all going from the like being a mechanic in the military to moving into cybersecurity, and we drastically reduced the amount of bullets that they had related to their time in the military because it was unrelated. And and then we went, like, we're not going to spend the time right now, but like we talked about like root cause analysis, being able to follow like an SOP really well, and some things that maybe tie in a little bit, but that takes a lot of one-on-one time. So if there's other things you can think through, like a really good like writing or giving presentations when you were the Intel person, like if there's some stuff like that to include here, then that's what I would put in here. And I would just keep this as short as you can. And because you're essentially a career changer, that would be my overall advice. Hopefully that makes sense. Tom, if you want to jump in here, you should have the stage link. I don't see how to invite you in here, but I'm happy to get you in here for a couple of these. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next one. Um, I can send it to you, Tom. You should have it in the email, but I can I can send it to you. No, I mean if you have interviews, Jared, just go through the interviews. I mean, it sounds like you might have success anyway. Again, there's no like rules with this because it's really hard to know what other people are necessarily going to see or focus on in some cases. But I would just have whatever resume you sent for the interviews you have coming up, have that nearby so you can look at it, um, and just work on your stories, like we talked about earlier. Like, what's your overall story? Because you're going to need a story of like how you're going from the job you have into cybersecurity. Like, and you want it to come like you want to be interesting, you want to be entertaining, you want to be, affable. But what's the story? Right? What's the story of like how did you decide like, oh yeah, I want to start pursuing this degree and get all these certifications? Like what like I watched Mr. Robot. Like what was the spark? Right? Yeah, I Tom, I sent it to you in a DM here. If you see that. All right, we've got Jose Serna Jr. If you're here. Or Tom, I sent it to you on Slack, but there's some way to do DMs in this platform as well. But I sent it to you on Slack. Um, I don't know if Jose Serna is here. Are you here? This is a weird font. I'm going to tell you right away. This is an odd font. It's not the easiest to read. Um. Okay, so you were in IT and system administration. Yeah, I'm just telling you, it's an odd font. It's an odd font choice. Hey, Tom. Okay, so Jose, the first thing that I see when I look at this is you have everything in here. So you're again, we've got that detail oriented that's not really helping you. Experience supporting security operations and vulnerability management, assisted in reducing incident response times by 30%. That's fine. Conducted over 100 vulnerability assessments annually. This isn't giving me your little story though. So, like, I don't know if you want to call out if like you like we're a veteran. You don't say that up here. You don't tell me how many years of experience you have. So like generally there's like a pretty standard like how we want this first paragraph to go. Um of it would be more like this probably. Where's my window? So probably something and this doesn't have to be perfect because I would want to like talk to you and get all the background and everything. So here we go. I'm an information security analyst with X years of experience supporting security ops and vulnerability management programs. Boom. It's very direct. That's who I am. Who are you? And then I would say, I am looking for a role as a blank. Yeah, but First of all, the career service people at these bases give terrible advice, to be frank. Every single resume I've ever seen, and they're like, I went to TAPS or whatever, the good Lord we call it now. Every resume I've seen is pretty bad. And a lot of the resumes from, unfortunately, from the people at your college are also quite bad that I've seen, which is just unfortunate. So, hi, the places to get your resume reviewed are here, VetSec, your local B-Sides conferences where they have actual cybersecurity recruiters. Those are the three best places I know of to go get your resume reviewed by people in the industry. But like I'm just saying, like up here, you don't say you are a veteran. Maybe you don't want to call that out, right? This is a civilian resume. I know most veterans want to say somewhere in their intro, like I am a veteran. So I just wanted to call out the fact that you don't have that in here. But like, so we went from this overall to this overall. Right? I've helped reduce incident response times by 30%. Like that's a good sentence. I've conducted more than 100 vulnerability assessments, and if it's annually or whatever it's going to be. And then like we don't necessarily need this final line here. That's not. But this is basically a bunch of disconnected sentences that have facts about you. It's not really like your story. Like we want a little bit more of like a story. Like this is me. This is what I'm trying to do. So this is better than that. We could probably work on it more. And then, like, depending on what role you're looking for, then we would want to tailor this. And this is also like, this format's okay. It's kind of hard to read that way from like a human perspective. So, like, you've got some AI stuff in here, but you don't have it up here. So, like, if you're trying to move into the AI space, I might say up here, I'm really interested in the AI technologies and I've done some training. Right? This is like, we want everything in the resume to make sense. So when I go through it, it makes sense to me because you have technical and non-technical stuff in here. This is just a whole bunch of words to maybe get past like the applicant tracking system. And it's not the best. Like if you have an area where like you're really strong on standards or something, then like have like standards and then list NIST SP 853 or something, or ISO 27001 and SOC 2. But like it's in here with like network auditing and code optimization. This is just a very weird thing. And generally, when we see a resume like this, it's just like all of your stuff in one little format. Tom, I think you're one of the people that don't particularly like this style when you see it. I'm not hearing you. Yeah. All right, we'll give Tom a minute here. The next line here, like you're a student, I don't list like I have a lot of feelings about listing a student as professional experience and whether or not we even want to do that. It's okay to just have a gap because you are a student. I think I got you now, Tom.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the core competencies section is a word salad to me. Like you go from SOC 2 and risk assessment and some GRC stuff to, like John said, code optimization, like software engineering and patch management. Like you've got like 4 different career fields in cyber in the word salad there. I would either streamline that or take it out.
Yeah. What do you think about listing student as professional experience? I would just take it out because he is a student.
If you already have it under education, I would take it out. Yeah, there's no point.
Yeah, so I would just move your. Oh yeah, this has got to be on page 1. That's all got to be on page 1 up here. Yeah, we're getting rid of that. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think you might have a table in here or something. Don't have any tables in your resume because that does not get parsed well by the applicant tracking system, the ATS. You also have like a technical skill section. So not only did you have like a core competency, you had a technical skill section. I don't know what's going on here with the formatting. This is very strange. Your formatting is not helping you. I would start with a blank Word document and just make sure, like, I don't know what's going on here. I would list these separately because it's very hard to see what you actually have the way it's laid out here. And I am telling you, this font is not helping you. I know it sounds stupid, but us old people who have to read this need all the help we can get. Okay, so normally you have expected graduation date. It can be aspirational. Whatever. Put a date there. Um, I don't know what that is.
I would take that out and I would take out the next line, like
Yeah,
applying Granite models for programming. To me, that tells me you put sentences in Chat GPT and vibe coded something.
yeah. None of that. I don't need to know what your score was for this. And I would not. I mean, I just wouldn't put the fact you're a student here because you are a student. And normally we wouldn't put that in professional experience.
You're trying to tell a concise story. That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah. What's the story? When I look at this, so like when I probably didn't say this earlier, when I get your resume, like I don't know who you are, so I'm like trying to figure out like who you are in those 10 or 15 seconds. So if I have 50 resumes and I spend 10 seconds and I get down to 10, I may take a little bit longer and double check to see whether those 10 make sense to me to try and get us to, like what is happening with your life. I have literally interviewed somebody because they were a Canadian football player before, and I wanted to understand how they got into threat intel. So you never know exactly what's going to be the weird spark that makes somebody be like, "Oh, I definitely want to talk to this candidate." But if your resume doesn't make sense, if there's like if it's odd, you list a student under professional experience. I've had people try to list the fact that they were a parent under professional experience. Like, I understand you're like trying to avoid a gap in employment there, but that just comes across as even weirder than just having a gap in employment, which clearly is a thing that happens. Um, so, as far as your bullets go, these are very standard. I took this from an NCOER type thing or some sort of like OER, like optimize 20 computer aided dispatch systems, cutting false alarms by 25%. And like, that's fine. Um, but it doesn't really tell me a whole lot. Like, it doesn't tell me what optimized means. Like, I don't know what you did per se for that. And then, like, you say you introduce advanced security system protocols. Like, if you did, I would expand on what they were. If that's 100% like you like what were these advanced security protocols? Like you implemented firewalls, you changed EDR settings. Like I but if it's like I don't know what this means, but that sounds like it might be a really good bullet if we expanded on it more. And this like applied Department of Defense cybersecurity frameworks and safeguard systems data and continuity. If you're trying to get a job in the civilian world, we've got to civilianize that. We've got to like put this into Chat GPT because that's basically I followed NIST 853 or whatever it's going to be. All right, so let's like take this one for example. All right, so we took those lines. I told ChatGPT to civilianize, strengthen, and use an Accenture proposal style for these bullets. So we went from that to this. And this might not seem like a lot, but we went from applied Department of Defense cybersecurity frameworks to safeguard systems to applied cybersecurity frameworks and best practices to protect enterprise systems data and operational continuity. It might not sound a lot different to you, but it sounds a lot different to me as the hiring manager when I read those two different sentences.
Yep, agreed.
Right? Does that make sense? I mean, hopefully everybody in the chat is seeing this because this is applicable probably for every resume we're going to see, right? This is one of the things that you have to do is like try to take this very military jargon-esque, right, mission critical Department of Defense, like safeguard, harden, and like use the terms and the words the civilian sector expects to see if you are trying to get a job in the civilian sector. If you're trying to get a job at like Booz Allen Hamilton or GDIT, like this resume is probably okay. I would still suggest you like tweak it a little bit, but like it's much more likely to be more successful in that world because it's using that language that that world expects more. You're not going to get a job at like a little hospital in Arkansas in the civilian market because they're just not going to understand this. I mean, we could do this for all of them, but I think we would be doing the same thing, Jose. So hopefully this makes sense. Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna try and get to a couple more of these, Tom.
Sounds good.
We got several. I want to try and get at least two more.
What was the resume, the AI prompt you were using, John? Use the Deloitte or Accenture proposal framework?
Deloitte or Accenture proposal language. I will also ask it to civilianize. The wording is another big one. Sometimes I do that combined. Sometimes it's better to do it separately. It just kind of depends on what the AI is doing. Yeah, so this is one of the prompts I just used. If it pastes in there.
If anybody has questions too while John's pulling these up, feel free to drop them in the chat.
All right, let me save this, share this one. All right. All right, we got Philip. All right. You got two different size fonts going on as well, which is the first thing I notice overall. So I know you took out all that stuff. That's fine. You also have like really big margins. I also don't like the fact this is all one line. Like, I don't like people giving themselves a title either, unless like that's absolutely the thing you want. So I'm not a big fan of that approach. That's
yeah,
me.
I would take that off too.
Okay, we're gonna have to do the same thing here. We got motivated. That's two resumes, and both of them we've seen start with the word motivated.
I assume if you're tailoring your resume and applying to jobs, you're motivated to get the job, so you don't need to put that on there. Also, I hate Microsoft Word presets, which is what all those headings are.
Yeah.
It's just a format thing, right? When we see them in the format that we've laid out in VetSec, even for us as hiring managers, it just lets us read them faster and easier and pull the pieces out of it.
Okay, so we went from motivated IT professional with over a decade of experience across government, education, and defense sectors, which is not a sentence. There's no verb.
I am a blank looking for a job in blank.
Right, so I am an IT professional with a decade of experience delivering technology solutions across multiple verticals, looking for a role as a blank. All right, so I haven't brought out too many of my buzzwords yet, but like when you like multiple verticals, Now you sound like someone who like works in the commercial sector, right? That sounds so much more civilianized and polished than that. Skilled in the Microsoft ecosystem, blah blah blah, PowerShell, sorry. Yeah. But like this whole like committed to process improvement and service excellence, I mean, like, that's fine.
Yeah,
But
don't
like
care.
this is a much stronger version of that. I might make this a little shorter. I mean, ideally, you're looking for like 4 to 5 lines, so this is a little much. Like, I would at least like you don't. Again, this is your resume, but like that's a little better. You also like have like weird like just um
You know what Jamf is, John?
I have no idea what this is. So this is one of these things where if like this is relevant, you're gonna have to explain it somehow. But I do not know what this is. So
Sounds like it's
if
Apple related certifications for working on Apple products, but yeah, I had to look that up, and that's something I'm never going to do if I'm hiring you. Now, obviously, if there's a job that requires it, put it on there. But if you're tailoring it to one that doesn't, I wouldn't bother.
and also if this is your civilian resume, if that's some sort of like military acronym, JAMF is Mac MDM. Okay, so it's literally like should be like JAMF. Okay, I've never heard of that before. We definitely don't want USAF Airman Leadership School, and that's not it's not doing anything.
Same with the in progress
Yeah,
AZ
the in
404.
progress, I would take out. I'm not a big fan of any in progress certs. You're going to get a 1 page resume. I can tell you right now, you're going to get a 1 page resume. You don't have enough experience for. Where's my page layout?
Yeah, you can reduce the spacing between
Yeah,
the top and the
margins,
objective, and
margins, narrow, reduce.
yep,
Yeah, I mean, this is we're definitely going to because we would get rid of all of that.
yeah, you're almost there already.
Yeah, we're pretty close to there. Education on page one. If it's relevant, put it on page one.
Yep,
Again, if you have
it
a
looked
music,
relevant, right? I would put
yeah,
the college over the boot camp, but
yeah, definitely do that way, and like something like that. So like we're also like in a really big font. Oh, I'm zoomed in. That's why. Um, this this needs to be broken out a little bit. I think because you
yeah,
have
there's a
ground
few
systems.
jobs in there.
Yeah, you got to do something. Break all this up.
And then those bullets just need to tell
Yeah,
us
I mean like
impact.
something,
Not just I
something.
did these things, but what did they matter?
Okay, so this is your present employment right now. So you are developing PowerShell and Bash scripts. You're resolving. I'm a big fan of when I read this, these should all be like verbs of the current tense because there are things you're doing in your current job. So you're maintaining, managing, resolving, developing, managing. You're doing a lot of managing, so you're going to have to use ChatGPT to help you with this. Let me take this. Let's do some ChatGPT magic here. This is the font. I'm sorry, that's the prompt for what I'm doing. And we're going from that to please text only. No. Man, it does not want to copy stuff today at all. I love this. Nope. Nope. Does anybody else have this problem of like ChatGPT just not wanting to copy stuff? Sorry for the delay. Okay. All right. So I used that prompt I put into the chat. So we went to this from that. Now, when you do this, you got to make sure it's like legit and factual still. But like we went from manage 250 endpoints. And again, I would say like ensuring secure imaging, patching, software deployment, blah blah blah. Develop and implement PowerShell and Bash scripts to automate system administration, streamline maintenance, and reduce manual effort. Like that is so much stronger than that, even though they basically say the same thing. And then like this whole resolving Office and 360 Teams issues, like it's becomes this whole line that's like the level, like it's that polish that we want with that Accenture Deloitte proposal language in a civilianized format. And that this will make a big difference if you do this line by line. Make sure it's all factually correct still. But hopefully you see the difference here between like these sentences. Yeah, and like not even you could use Gemini. Like people will do this just for you. Like go talk to an English major. They will help you with this. There's lots of different ways to do this. This is why I say AI cannot rewrite your whole resume in one shot, but it can certainly help bit by bit. Also, if I've looked at your resume, I am saving them. If you send me an email tomorrow, I will send them back to you. I want to get to at least one more, so I think I'm going to move on, Tom, unless you have anything else on this one. You're on mute. Tom, you're on mute.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd say is if there's impact, with statistics that you can put in some of those bullets, add that. Yeah. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Okay. Let me stop sharing this one.
Sherpa's asking if you have one for entry-level roles with no professional cyber experience yet.
I don't know. We can see what's going on here. Let me see if I have anything like that in the queue, because we've done a couple of these like more standard ones. I don't know if we have anything like that.
While John's looking, all of us get out of the military at some point. All of us come into cyber at some point. If you're here trying to, you just have to think about what skills that you had in the service and what you did in the service are applicable to the role that you're applying for. Doesn't have to be necessarily that you worked in cyber to get into cyber. Makes it easier, obviously, but I came from nuclear power 2 years ago, and now I'm running a SOC in the cybersecurity industry. It's all how you word that resume and tailor it, and how you present yourself professionally in those interviews.
All right.
Resume reads will definitely help.
We have one. This might be the last one I get to. Let me pull this up on the screen. So I did skip a few. I apologize, but several of them look kind of similar to what we've had. I tried to find one who basically, her email is, I'm seeking entry-level positions. So this is pretty much the most junior one that I saw out of the couple that are in the queue.
I think this is the one from the person asking the question. So.
Oh, hopefully.
I'm just something just stood out to me really bluntly was the awards and achievements section. Yeah. Global war on terrorism, stuff like that. Yeah, don't care, frankly. Appreciate your service. Don't care. Put you're a veteran in the top. That's all I need.
Yep. I was looking at this. This is great.
Yep.
I love this.
Yep. It'd be great if some of the volunteer stuff was towards the industry you're looking to get into, but it's all good stuff, yeah. Right?
At least you got the ISACA on there.
Absolutely.
I think you're probably okay keeping those, but we might want to try to get you to a one page for a junior role. I
Yeah,
don't like all these.
skills.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. You got to get rid of your lines. The lines break the applicant tracking system, so get rid of all of these lines as well.
Yep. Yeah, two
Okay,
things I'll say about the skills section that John might be deleting. I don't care about in progress certs, frankly, because people's plans change. And I hope people have the soft skills you listed. That's what I'm going to interview you for. And if you list all those tools and ports and protocols, I'm going to ask you about every single one of them and break you. So pick and choose wisely the ones you're really, truly experts on. If you say PowerShell, that doesn't mean I copy and pasted a PowerShell command at one point in my life into a terminal. So I'm going to drill in on that kind of stuff.
yeah, here's the other thing as well that concerns me a little bit with this. You're seeking entry level positions such as the SOC tier 1 or junior analyst, and you basically are coming out of the infantry. So, where did you get this hands on experience? I would not interview you. If
Looks
I was
like
hiring
it's
for
from the project stuff, but yeah, if you say experience, it's likely in the job, right? That's
right,
what
so
we're.
like that wording makes it sound like you're trying to say that you have experience that maybe you don't have. Maybe that's not how you mean it, which is fair if that's not what you're really saying. But the way it comes across to me as a hiring manager is that you're saying, I have this experience, but I don't see that experience on the resume other than the education setting. So I would be really careful with how you want to say that, unless like maybe it's the labs. I don't know. Again, there's no right or wrong way. It is your resume, but I'm just going to let you know you have to be really careful how you word some of this, because somebody is going to see this and be like, oh, this person doesn't actually have this experience, they're lying. And that may not be fair either, but I guarantee you somebody's going to see it and think that with their first reaction. So yeah, I think you've got too much going on here. I would get rid of this in progress one. Your education. Oh, we definitely need to get rid of all these lines. The
But
lines,
also, like, what job do you want to get? I
yeah,
understand you want to get into the industry, but what are you looking to do?
right. You said in your email to me what you want to do. So like, I am cybersecurity graduate with limited educational experience in incident response, threat detection, system hardening, looking for a SOC tier 1 or junior analyst role. And again, you have like skilled in these tools, so like you'd really want to be careful. Like if you've done a lot of projects in that, it's fine. But like somebody might ask you how much experience you have in there, so be prepared for that.
Yeah, to say skilled in Splunk, and then I assume that's from the Zybooks experience. But you say there are 15 plus simulated incident investigations. My SOC is doing 30 of those a day, most likely. So to say you're skilled in it after 15 is probably a stretch.
Yeah,
Again, this is just how it's coming across.
yeah, I'm changing a little bit of the wording in here. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to help us.
That said, I'd like the project stuff, right? It's good stuff to have. It shows your interest in the field for sure. Um, just be careful with the wording on some of it. The bachelor's is definitely going to be kind of your big thing in. I would take off related courses probably myself.
Okay. Yeah, I want this to be one page. You need a one page resume because you don't have a lot of applicable experience.
What do you think about the related courses under the degree, John?
Hold on one second. Let me.
Yeah, yeah.
So education. No, I get rid of that. Nope, that's gone. We got rid of our Army awards. Get rid of that. Get rid of these two that are unrelated for those volunteer things. And like you have like SOC tier 1 analyst, like I don't know that header does you a lot of good.
No, you say all of it in the professional summary already. I still think I could pare down the skills some. Like Windows, Linux, Mac OS. What do you mean you're skilled in the operating systems? You use them, like, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of just listing operating systems. If we just get rid of that, and
We're
then
close.
I mean we
You're
are at
there.
one page.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like some other weird formatting
There's
down
some
here.
blank space and stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
So you could do a little bit more formatting on this. This is a lot tighter. I actually ChatGPT told me that maybe we can get a different. I don't know if it's going to actually copy over or not. So, cybersecurity graduate and U.S. veteran seeking a SOC Tier 1 or junior analyst role. And I would say, like, has educational experience in incident response with hands on familiarity. Like, I like this hands on familiarity. I think that's a really good way to word it, right? Again, if you have more experience than that, that's fine, but we're just going off what we can see here. So, I like how that worded. Like, that was a slightly better wording, I think. Um, Firewalls reduce vulnerability, supporting resilience. Yeah. So that's a little shorter. And then we get down here.
I mean, there's still a little bit of formatting stuff. There's still quite a bit of white space at the end of some bullets. But I think this is a pretty solid kind of entry career changing resume, honestly.
Yeah. I'm going to see if we can get anything a little more civilianized for these infantry ones, just to see what ChatGPT does with this. Oh, yes. I already saw cross collaboration somewhere. All right. So like it messed up my font a little bit here, but I think we can get the. And again, you want to make sure this still sounds factual and it doesn't sound too ridiculous when we get it redone here. But
I might take out the third bullet myself, but
yeah, just training people. Yeah, because it's really not. And we messed up the spacing here, but
I still get the idea.
yeah, you were in the infantry. It's not relevant to your cybersecurity job.
Well, and
Yeah.
as a tier 1 analyst, we're not looking for leadership kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's not what you're applying for.
No. There we go. More junior. Again, if you don't have experience or you're a career changer, I get down to one page. Get down to one page. It's not doing good. Like if we needed to in this instance, like if you had like more projects or something, or we reformatted this a little bit differently, or if we kept maybe the applicable courses for your education, I would continue to make the argument that I don't need any bullets necessarily for your infantrymen time, or maybe you get down to like one bullet because again, it's not really applicable. Being in the infantry, the same as like the truck drivers that I worked with, the same people that are like currently working in a barista. The other thing that I've seen is I'll get someone who is in college, but they have a part-time job and they're putting their part-time jobs on here, like bartending. And I'm like, you don't actually,
Yeah, I
I
don't care.
don't think put that on there. You don't need to put that on there, right? It's not like no one is going to arrest you if you apply somewhere and it was like you had a job that wasn't on your resume because oh well, I was a part-time Grubhub driver or whatever. Like it's not going to be relevant to the job, right? It would be one thing to be like I worked in the White House and I didn't include it on my resume. Like that's not what we're talking about, right? We're talking about oh I was a bartender or I worked at Starbucks or I worked in the library. If it's not adding anything to the resume and you're really a student, you don't have to include these part-time jobs. Okay. I think that's about as much time as I'm probably going to have, Tom. I don't know if we had some other general advice we want to dish out before we wrap this up today.
I think you covered it for the most part, John. I mean, the big thing is, right, you're trying to convey, looking at that job description that you're applying for, that you have the chops to do the job, right? And the thing that I look for, now I sit at the final stage of hiring in my business, so I have a recruiter that screens, then it goes to a technical interviewer, typically someone in my SOC, and then me. I'm looking for personality fit, self-initiative, and drive, right? Like John said, I normally know in 5 minutes if they're a fit for the role or not. And at that point, it's how you present yourself. The resume is to get your foot in the door. Interview prep is a whole other piece of this.
Tom said one really important thing there, that self-drive, self-motivation, that really can set you apart. So like your volunteering stuff, your projects, all of that stuff is really important to show, because you're competing with so many other people for these roles right now. That's probably not going to change in the next year or two. Anything else, like somebody had a YouTube page and a YouTube channel, if you have a GitHub, if you've contributed to an open source project, you have a blog about cybersecurity, anything you can do to stand out a little bit more and show that you have that proactive and you're really trying to work to get into this field will help you stand out against all of the other candidates that also have a bachelor's degree and a security plus and are applying for that same role.
Yeah, just for an example, I mean, I'm hiring for a role in my SOC right now. We had 400 applicants in 2 days. That filtered down to 20 some that were passed to me. Beyond the technical interviews, we filtered it down to 4. That's who I interviewed. 4 people out of 400 in 48 hours. Like, it's ridiculous right now. So anything you can do to stand out.
If I looked at your resume, send me another email. I will email you back in the morning sometime with the slightly edited one, if that's helpful to you, if you want that. I know some of them we edited more than others. But yeah, if you're here and you're a veteran and you're not part of VetSec, we have a resume review channel. You can also get some other people's takes on it. Again, you're going to get different opinions. Some people think that tech skills things are okay. Like, we all have different feelings about it from like a hiring manager or trying to find a job perspective. Yeah, so thanks for being here, everybody. That's pretty much going to wrap up day 1 of VetSec Con. Day 2 should be really exciting tomorrow. I'm really excited for some of the talks we have tomorrow. We got the DDoS workshop. We got an in-depth analysis of a fish. Ron Werner is joining us for Beyond the Firewall. My technical recruiter, Kirsten Renner, will be here for a 1-hour talk about, climbing and trying to find the job searching methodologies. Tom is giving a talk tomorrow about VA disability benefits and like how that works or doesn't work and how you get around that. And then we have trivia as well. So I'm really excited about that. Riker, if you want to post that in the morning or save that question in the morning, I'm getting ready to call it a night for now, but we can definitely try to answer that in the morning at some point after opening remarks, because Pug and I won't have that much to talk about. Thanks, everybody. Tom, I'm going to call it a night. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Have a good night, all. Thanks.